Fatal Remedies by Donna Leon. Read by John Nettles. The woman walked quietly into the empty campo. To her left stood the grille-covered windows of a bank, empty and sleeping the well-protected sleep that comes in the early hours of the morning. She crossed to the centre of the campo and stood beside the low-hung iron chains, enclosing the monument to Daniel Manin, who had sacrificed himself for the freedom of the city. How fitting, she thought. She heard a noise to her left and turned towards it. But it was nothing more than one of the Guardia di San Marco and his German shepherd. If the guard thought it strange to see a middle-aged woman standing still in the middle of Campo Manin at 3:15 in the morning, he gave no sign of it. When the guard and his dog left, the woman moved away from the low chain and went to stand in front of a large glass display window on the far side of the square. Over her left shoulder she carried a blue canvas beach bag. She pivoted her body, and the weight of what was in the bag swung it round to the front. She set it on the ground, glanced down into it, and reached in with her right hand. It came out with a large rock, one that had stood for years on the desk in her study. The size of a grapefruit, it fitted perfectly into her gloved palm. She stepped back from the window until she was about 2 meters from it, and turned until she stood sideways, but still looking at the window. In one sweeping motion she brought her hand forward with all her strength. The stone must have found some inherent fault line in the glass, for instead of punching out a small hole its own size, it shattered open a triangle 2 meters high and almost as wide. She waited until there was no more sound of falling glass, but that had no sooner stopped than from the back room of the office in front of her the sharp double wail of a burglar alarm blared out into the silent morning. Behind her, in the top-floor apartment to the left of the bank, lights went on. Then in the one that stood directly above the still wailing alarm. Shutters were flung out, 3 heads appeared and as quickly disappeared. More lights came on. Sleep was impossible, so long as the alarm continued to scream out that crime was afoot in the city. After about 10 minutes, 2 policemen came running into the campo, one with his pistol in his hand. He went to the hole in the shattered window and called out, "Whoever's in there, come out! This is the police!" Nothing happened. The alarm continued. The second policeman approached his partner, and they peered in together. Then the first raised a foot and kicked away the tall stalagmites of glass that rose up dangerously from the base of the frame. Together they climbed inside and disappeared into the back. Minutes passed, and nothing happened. Then, in the same instant, the lights in the office went out, and the alarm stopped. They looked around to see if anything appeared to be missing or destroyed, then stepped back through the hole in the window into the campo. It was then that they noticed the woman sitting on the stone pillar. The one who had pulled out his pistol went towards her. "Signora, did you see what happened?" "Yes." "What? Who was it?" "Someone threw a rock through the window," the woman said. "What did he look like?" "It wasn't a man," she answered. "A woman?" the second one interrupted. With a sharp look at his partner, the first one resumed his questions. "What did she look like?" "She was in her early 40s, blonde hair, shoulder length." The woman's hair was tucked inside a scarf, so at first the policeman didn't get it. "What was she wearing?" he asked. "A tan coat, brown boots." He noticed the colour of her coat, then looked down at her feet. "This isn't a joke, Signora. We want to know what she looked like." She looked straight at him. "No jokes, officer. I've told you what she was wearing." "But you're describing yourself, Signora." She nodded. "You threw a stone through that window." Once more she nodded. With unspoken agreement, the 2 men backed away from her until they were out of earshot, though they both kept their eyes on her. They put their heads together and spoke in lowered voices for a moment. Then one of them pulled out his mobile and punched in the number of the questura. The policeman spoke for several minutes, giving what information he had and saying they'd already apprehended the person.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?